Good morning. We have a quorum, and so we'll call to order the City of St. Louis Port Authority for its regularly scheduled meeting held via Zoom on December 12, 2024 at 9 a.m. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Kay,
Present.
Commissioner Mason,
Present.
Chair McBride.
Present. We'll take up the minutes held in the meeting that occurred on November 14, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve Williams.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Kay,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
All right. Thank you. And now we'll take up resolution 24 PT 33 relating to ACBL Transportation Services request to exercise the first 5-year option. Susan, you're going to walk us through that, please.
Yes, good morning. American Commercial Barge Lines, ACBL, has several, leases with us. One of them is, as you see in the picture here, this is just south of the MacArthur Bridge. The view is looking south. They have 2 fleets here. The one on the right is 576 feet, and the one on the left is a little over 1,000 feet. Plus, they have some square footage. So they've been there 10 years, and they'd like to exercise their mutually agreeable option or extension for another 5 years. We are agreeing to it as well. So they want to stay, and they're a good tenant. The the extension is in the packet. It's just an amendment, so-called, and so we're recommending approval of their 5-year extension to their lease.
And is there the mooring rights, do they go all the way out to, is for the length of these yellow lines that are parallel to the riverfront?
No, that's just a graphic overlay. The Army Corps gives permits that tell the fleeter how far out into the river the fleet can go. So I'm sure it's not permitted that far out. So the yellow line is just a graphic overlay to the aerial photograph.
All right. And in the terms of the annual increase are in line with how did we arrive at the terms for annual increase? Let me ask you that.
Yeah, as you may remember, we negotiated all of our leases up to market rate. We did that to them, and the current rate now is at about $70 a linear foot for mooring. So that's where this lease is. And the square footage stays the same, 25 cents. Next year, the fleeting rate will go up. And we have a 3% escalator. So they're consistent with our market rates, I should say.
Very good. Looks like we're ending at 170,000, a little over 170,000 a month in 2029. Any questions from the commissioners on this resolution?
Remind us, Susan, who operates the land in between?
There's another lease to Consolidated Grain and Barge, and they used to have a functioning dock. You can see 2 little wood piers kind of sticking out at the downstream end of the 116,000 square foot. And they have a fleeting lease with us, and I think they have an arrangement with ACBL, but ACBL is aware of that lease, and that's why their fleet is split up like that. Although sometimes they kind of hang over.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions on this resolution? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 24 PT 33.
So moved, Alderman Cone.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Alderman Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Kay,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye. And the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Now we'll take up resolution 24, PT 34. Recommend that BPS approve a one-year mooring permit to SI Warehousing. Susan, can you walk us through that, please?
Yeah, this is a second one-year permit. The lessee did have a 25-year lease. It's right in front of the South Refuse complex. You can see the two former smokestacks there on the right. And because that project is in the works, the South Riverfront redevelopment project, we're giving them another one-year extension. The fleet is 2,400 linear feet, as you can see. So we don't want to give them a lease at this point because we don't know how that ground is going to be redeveloped and who might get the future lease there. So we gave them a one-year lease last year at $70 a linear foot. This year, 2025, it's $75 a linear foot. They have no square footage. And we met with them. So they understand that this is sort of an interim arrangement so that we can keep them there so they can continue to function while the project plays out. So the staff is recommending approval of their, or recommending approval of us going to the Board of Public Service asking or recommending approval to them for a permit.
All right. And last year it was,
It was $70 a foot, a linear foot last year. This for 2025, it's $75 a linear foot. It went up.
okay. Okay. And that's going to total out to be around $180,000 a year.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Any questions for Susan on this resolution? Alderman Cohen, the Zoom highlighted you, but I don't know if you had a question or not.
No, thank you.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 24 PT 34.
So moved, Alderman Cohen.
Second with previous roll call.
And properly moved and seconded to request for previous roll. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. All right, looks like now we're going to take up on open agenda a presentation from the Municipal River Terminal Improvements presentation for Ingram Barge by Dan Lester. Is that correct?
Yes, and Dan's here today. We have 5 or 6 leases with Ingram. Ingram's taken over the SCF leases. And so Ingram operates the Municipal River Terminal at the foot of North Market Street, which is, the city owns it. And Ingram's doing a terrific job. They're expanding the rail. So Dan, tell us what's going on down there.
Absolutely. First off, appreciate everyone giving me some time this morning to meet everybody virtually, or for those of you I met in person. We're excited to be here. This is a pretty unique opportunity for us as Ingram to expand our footprint beyond the barge line into terminaling with the SCF acquisition. So that was completed in February of this year, and we have since then been very busy on integration and have some plans for growth in St. Louis, both in the region as a whole, but also with MRT and Tyler Street as well. This is also unique for me. I'm a native St. Louisan. I grew up in North County and then went to SIU for undergrad. So I live in Nashville now, but family's still here, so I get to come back and participate in a lot of redevelopment and growth. So this is a pretty unique scenario. With that, I think we can jump into, I put a presentation together to give an overview for everyone, and then happy to entertain any questions as we go through this. Susan, do you want me to share my screen or do we want to use the?
He can share.
Yes, please share your screen. Yeah, please do
Okay.
that.
Perfect. Let me do this here. Right.
While we're waiting, we spent $20 million to rebuild the dock. So now we have a 2,000-foot dock that they're operating from. So it's been a very successful operation over there.
So there we go. Right. So as I kind of touched on here briefly, the Ingram primarily has operated on the inland waterway as a barge line, but with the SCF acquisition, we moved into the terminaling business, so the land side, where we have created what's called Ingram Infrastructure Group. So that is our land side business. We did keep the SCF Lewis and Clark Terminals name as the acquisition was a stock acquisition rather than asset acquisition. So we've kept that for branding, but really the idea here is for us to move into greater supply chain resiliency across the inland waterway, across raw commodities, and really start interconnecting the terminals with the barge lines, with the railroads. St. Louis is great because of its connectivity to the world. It is the ag coast of America, and that really is a unique opportunity for us. A little bit about us. There's 3 of us in the leadership team here with Ingram Infrastructure. Bill Kinsler is our general manager. He has a 30-year history in the industry with a variety of different companies, most notably Kinder Morgan, Watco, River Consulting. Frank Prentice is our commercial vice president. He handles day-to-day sales and marketing, another 20-year industry veteran. And then myself bringing up the rear here. I've been with Kinder Morgan, Watco, been in the industry about 15 years, handling the business development. So I manage a lot of the projects, growth projects, and then industry relationships across railroads, organizations, and then our barge line partners as well. What do we do? On the infrastructure side, we do material handling. With the SCF acquisition, that was our first iteration into the terminal business. And so with that, we have a variety of different business lines. St. Louis is primarily a bulk and break bulk handling operation. So with MRT, you see we have steel coils, we have fertilizer, which we'll touch on the expansion plans. And then we also have some warehousing across in the area. Our customer base is pretty broad. We handle products for roughly 75 different customers in St. Louis alone, and then across our barge line, we're closer to about 250. So a lot of touch points, both on the water and on the land side. This is a pretty unique slide here that I think everybody should really focus on because it really highlights the benefit of St. Louis. What you have in St. Louis is one of what we call in the industry 4 gateway cities, and that's where the river meets the east-west railroads. So those cities are New Orleans, Memphis, St. Louis, and then to some degree Chicago with the Illinois River and the Great Lakes. But what's unique about St. Louis is this is as far north as we can get before we get into freezing issues on the river. So it really becomes this global distribution point with really unparalleled connectivity that is creating a lot of opportunity. You can see here, we've highlighted kind of the four main modes of transportation we operate in, and there's lots of benefits to it. So we're really excited about the opportunity to be here, what St. Louis offers, both from a connectivity standpoint, but also from a growth standpoint and an investment in the infrastructure as well. So as you all know, we are the existing operator of Municipal River Terminal. That's a picture of it today. As we continue to grow with y'all's support and in partnership, this will look a little different as we go forward. But this is just kind of a highlight of an overview of what we're doing there and what the operation looks like. What many different facets, like I said, bulk handling, break bulk handling, storage, warehousing, distribution, loading, unloading. So it's really a good opportunity to see a lot of different modes of transportation interact with each other, but also creates a significant amount of economic value, jobs in the area, and good paying jobs as well. So really the meat of this presentation today is to talk through some of the expansion plans that we have for Municipal River Terminal. I talked a lot about the connectivity because that is one of the factors why we have an opportunity for growth at MRT. And so the first thing you're seeing here is what we're calling our MRT fertilizer expansion. For those of you that are familiar with the existing site today, SCF created a unit train loading concept for fertilizer there. So this is fertilizer coming up the inland waterway, transferred to rail car, and then distributed throughout both the Western Corn Belt and Eastern Corn Belt. So they put this initially together, I think, 3 years ago. And what we have undertaken is redesigning this system to create what is going to be the most efficient rail car loading capability on the river system. Our engineering partners have put together a system that is completely enclosed and high speed. Will be able to load a unit train, so roughly 85 to 100 cars of fertilizer within 24 hours. This will increase our throughput through that facility up to 1 million tons a year. So we're able to drive more business, more customers, which is going to create more jobs, more opportunity for that terminal. As part of this, we have undertaken this as a private capital investment. So we're putting about $6 million into the ground there. So that system that you see here represented in the engineering schematic and the overlay there is that $6 million at work at the MRT facility. So we will be moving what exists there today from its current location. It'll stay at the site. It's just going to get moved to the north side of the facility, and we'll start emplacing this. This project is slated to begin construction June 1st. So this will be a summer construction with completion at end of September of 25. So it's about a 4-month build for this system itself. On the next slide, what you see is the rail investment that we're going to complete that's going to support that system. So the rail that exists at MRT today has worked. We've taken it a step further and looked at how to create the most efficient operation within the footprint that we have. And we've done this on the idea of understanding where the industry is going as far as trains, train length, train sizing, and requirements to keep MRT competitive for the next 25 to 30 years. So what we've done here is in conjunction with the TRA, both working with Adam, Matt, and Brentwood, designed and undergone a process where we have created the ability to construct a connection from the TRA main line on the south end all the way back up through the Tyler Street facility into the MRT terminal, and then also connect in with our 2020 build funds on MRT1, the north end connection through the facility, to create about 11,000 linear feet of track that would be able to receive a single consist of unit train in, and then be able to break it into the most efficient 25 car slots to then be loaded on that facility. This here is a really unique scenario. There's one other facility in St. Louis that's similar to this. So we're going to continue to keep MRT competitive with that. This entire project right here is a private capital investment of about $12 million. And this is spread across both Tyler Street, MRT, and then adding a couple of pieces inside MRT, the actual facility, realigning some track and adding some additional storage as well. Our third phase of this whole project is through the build 2020 build grant that SCF received. And what you see here is a lot of engineering design, but just walk with me a little bit. This is the north end connection. So at the very north end of MRT, we have the C8 floodwall gate. And in the build grant, there was funds awarded as a component part to put rail through that build gate and extend the rail north. So that's what this drawing, the schematic represents. And then my great graphic over here on the left is us putting in the engineering design and the connection for that north end that will then alleviate a significant amount of congestion both at Tyler Street and at MRT as well. That project's going to take a little bit longer. We have to work through our partners at the NS and then the Corps of Engineers on the design for the gate engineering. And then also with the NS owning the track, TRA operating it, we're working with them to get approvals on the engineering design. So next one here I have highlighted is the Tyler Street rebuild. So this is an update for the 2020 build funds. The existing facility is certainly at the end of its usable life. It's done a lot of good over the years, but it's time to replace it for the next 30 years. So we've undertaken the conceptual engineering and we're doing the geotechnical evaluation right now for the structures and foundations. But the new system will replace essentially what you see there today, only to be upgraded and upgrade to last for the next 30 years. We'll put in new belts, brand new drag system underneath the rail for more efficient loading. We're going to put in a little different dust collection system that reduces emissions. We'll have a 99.5% collection efficiency there. And then we'll also, through this, be able to add additional capacity through the terminal there to create almost 2 million tons a year of available rail to barge loading. So when you look at your tax dollars at work and these federally funded investments with private matches, this is what they're getting spent on, and we're making sure that we're doing it efficiently, economically, and really to drive value behind the dollars that we're spending. So in summary here, over the next 15 months, we're going to spend about $29 million throughout MRT and Tyler Street. And that's a combination of private capital, public funds through the 2020 build grant, and then also through private party match as part of that. And really what that money is going to do is make sure MRT is competitive for global trade going forward, that Tyler Street is competitive for global trade on the southbound front. So that's going to be our rail to barge. It's going to create the ability for both MRT and Tyler Street to load and unload unit trains. This is something that's never been able to be done before in either terminal's history. And that's all done through that integrated rail work that we're working on now. So you can see we're really taking this a long-term approach to the facilities, to the investment, to the partnership, and really trying to create increased tonnage throughout the facility, modernize it, and make sure we remain competitive going forward. So with that, I'll entertain any questions that we have about the projects, the developments, or Ingram as a whole.
Well, thank you, Dan. That's a great overview, and that's a great insight to what we have in the next 15 months, and that we're going to have now 2 terminals with the ability to handle unit trains, when before we were edging close to just 1. That's outstanding. And so is that going to is there a tonnage backlog somewhere? Is that going to free up? It's always going to free up the ability to take on and unload more tonnage of products from the barge. But is there that capacity out there for that to actually occur?
There is. With St. Louis, you have we kind of look at it in northbound, southbound way. In the bulk handling, St. Louis has about 2.5 to 3 million tons of fertilizer that moves through it a year. And within that, there is not enough existing infrastructure for the parties desired to run tonnage through St. Louis. So that's what really precipitated that fertilizer expansion. And then with the efficiencies on the unit train put together, we've been able to capture tonnage that wants to run through St. Louis that hadn't before. So a lot of this is going to be incremental. It's going to be serving one of our larger customers that has the second largest distribution of fertilizer in the US. So this is a good thing to see. And it is backstopped by lots of demand, demand that probably is going to precipitate growth north of what we have even expected. On the southbound side, grain is always been the big mover through St. Louis. You've got everybody, A, B, C, D grain facilities throughout. Typically in the past, SCF, we've always been an overflow facility. What's changed now is the dynamic around renewable fuels, specifically renewable diesel. Soybeans as a feedstock with the soy oil creates soybean meal, and soybean meal moves to St. Louis and will continue to move to St. Louis in greater tonnages than it has in the past 20 years. We've seen the incremental demand for it. We've also seen global trade flows have changed to where customers are looking for an outlet to the center Gulf. That outlet being Minneapolis shuts down 3 or 4 months a year. So you really do have to come to St. Louis to then move it down south through New Orleans for export. So we're pretty confident with the investment and the tonnages behind it, and really see this as creating additional capacity for incremental growth based off of tonnage that is coming to St. Louis rather than just shuffling around tons from other places.
Very good. I'm going to open it up to questions from the other commissioners. Any questions from the commissioners for Dan Lester?
I have a question. As you continue to grow, what benefit will this have for the citizens of St. Louis regarding particularly jobs? And are you looking at particular areas in which you want to increase your human resources? And if you are, I would like to ask you to look at areas that are vulnerable and that people are looking for, good paying jobs, and they live in some of these vulnerable areas. What could happen so those individuals could get those opportunities, and what is your growth expectations over the year?
No, that's a good question. So the incremental growth is going to drive the need for additional associates, and it's going to create new jobs for us. So right now, across kind of the St. Louis footprint with Ingram on the terminal side, we've got about 100 associates. And so that's going to be MRT, Tyler Street, our Illinois facilities as well. With this growth and demand that we're looking at over the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to need to see 20 to 25% job growth. So we're looking at it easily 25 to 30 individuals. And when you get into these types of jobs, they're jobs that are in the past, you've kind of had to know somebody to get into the industry. We're changing that. We have targeted recruiting programs at high schools, at trade schools. We're working with ACP right now, and we're going to do the same thing on the Missouri side, where we want to expose individuals to the industry and to the opportunities the industry provides. I think it's an industry that creates a lot of economic benefit for both the industry itself, but also for the communities around it. You got to figure we just on the agricultural side serve, corn belts, and we export. But to do that, we have to have people. This is an industry where, with all the technology and advancement in technology, we're never going to be able to perform without people, and well-trained people at that, because of the complexity around some of these systems. So our intent and our hope has been to continue to develop opportunities within the community through partnerships with community organizations. Through high school. We've done some internship programs here on the ACP side. We'd like to do the same thing in St. Louis through workforce and job development, because when you come into these jobs, these are jobs where we look at them as careers, not jobs, because of the progression in the industry. I mean, I started in the industry when I got out of the Marines. I started as a nighttime scrap supervisor at a facility in Arkansas. And have worked up in the different jobs and operations and such, that I don't think without the exposure and time in the industry, I would have been able to do that. So it's very much a career path that we're looking for.
Um, so, do you have anybody, because I know you say you're from Nashville, and, by the way, my husband's from Nashville. He just thinks that's the greatest place in the world.
Oh,
But,
he's from here.
I'm from
No.
St. Louis originally.
Oh,
I
you're
just
from-
live in Nashville.
Well,
Yeah.
I said you live in Nashville,
Yeah.
but that's where my husband is from. So, I mean, you guys got to go out and have
Right.
barbecue.
We flip flopped.
Right, I'm sorry. But who do you have on the ground here in St. Louis with regard to looking into those vocational schools or high schools? Who do you have that's currently doing those searches?
So Nate Zimmerman is our HR in St. Louis. He heads that up, and then we have two additional recruiters here in St. Louis that are working that right now. And then we have within that also on and that's just on the terminal side, the infrastructure side. On the barge side, we have two additional recruiters, and then one HR support out of Paducah that's up here a fair amount. And so really what we're trying to do is not just expose people to the jobs and availability on the land side, but this can go on the water side as well. So really create this kind of an ecosystem of opportunity with what Ingram offers, both on the water, off the water, and the ability for associates to be mobile within our company once they come in and, you know, have that opportunity to you know, provide a pathway of their job development.
Thank you. Well, in your search, keep in mind those communities that are, like I said, vulnerable. There's a lot of good talent out there in those areas, and sometimes unfortunately, they get looked over because of where they reside. But this is a great benefit. This will be and is a great benefit to our city. And I'm very excited about what you're doing and what you're bringing to the St. Louis area.
I appreciate that. We're excited. And again, as a kid from North County, I grew up in Florissant.
I spent time in Florida. So did you go to what Hazelwood school did you go?
I went to Hazelwood Junior.
Okay, right.
Yep.
Okay, man.
Yeah. So we moved to Alton after my 7th grade year, but I was Jana Elementary and Barrington and then Hazelwood Junior. But you know, seeing the community develop over the last 20 years, I know the areas you're talking about, and those are the areas that I have a desire to see better. That's part of the reason why I asked to be put on these projects. Was I'm from St. Louis. I want to see the best opportunity for the city.
And it desperately needs it in some areas. And this is great news, and so glad to hear that you're expanding and what you're doing for our community.
Thank you, Tanya. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
I'll just piggyback off of the conversation here, but excuse me. I would encourage you to possibly also reach out to SLATE, SLA. It's a St. Louis area agency on training and employment. They have been doing a really good job helping local employers connect with people and resources, and specifically in the areas that Tanya was talking about. And then also St. Mary's High School recently just started apprenticeship programs as well, and they have a very diverse student body. So if you're looking for folks that are coming out of high school, that would probably be a really great opportunity for them as well. But I'd encourage you to also, reach out to SLATE, because they really have been doing a pretty big job at connecting people with resources. There's also just another nonprofit in the St. Louis area called Employment Connection. They would also have, people that are looking for these types of jobs as well.
I appreciate that. We will reach out to both of those.
Thanks. The other question that I had, though, was, as you're talking about expanding, access and whatnot, where is that market share possibly coming from? So if there's, that much capacity that's, going through St. Louis, that's not stopping in St. Louis, that could stop in St. Louis, where is that? Where are the marketplaces that would otherwise go if it weren't coming to St. Louis?
Yeah. What we've seen is it would move further north. It would go to Iowa or Minneapolis. Alternatives would be Cincinnati or Memphis. So what has changed a little bit, and I say a little bit, quite a lot actually. The way the railroads operate has changed in the last 5 to 6 years. And so that's driven customers, shippers to look at alternatives based off of connectivity. Also, we have seen a desire for resilience in supply chain. So COVID changed everything on the supply chain side, both internationally, it got highlighted, but domestically, it changed it probably even more so. And it changed it because of how trade flows operate, but also down to just to the boat level and staffing and manning and being more efficient. It's changed how we've had to do that. So what we've seen is shippers are looking for the most efficient option. And if you're a barge shipper and you're trying to move product inland or you're trying to move it to the Gulf, the fastest run is St. Louis South and St. Louis North because there's so few stops in between. And so we have seen people move their product from trying to move it all the way to Minneapolis and then go over, or Iowa or Cincinnati and go east. We're starting to aggregate it here. Part of that's because of the size of the harbor in St. Louis. We have you have so much additional fleeting area. You have so many additional docks that it creates all this capacity that some of these other cities don't have in their ability to handle this cargo. So you're benefiting by geography even more so. And as we have seen some repatriation of supply chains, that's what's driven some of this additional tonnage as well.
No, that's excellent. And part of the reason I was asking that is, I think it's often overlooked. This isn't just a benefit for the city of St. Louis. This is actually a benefit for the state of Missouri too. I think we often, overlook that St. Louis is an economic engine for the state, and having projects like these that help to increase, our GDP across the board is a really, amazing thing, and a really, kind of sings to how St. Louis itself is a tremendous asset for the state of Missouri too. So that's very good and helpful insight, and very much appreciate the work that you all are doing. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And if I could piggyback off of Alderman Cohen, especially when he was talking about supply chain, there's an organization that I've worked with. It's called the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals. And they work with high school students and they train them in jobs with regard to supply chain. And I was hoping that if there's a way that I could contact you, I mean, maybe we can correspond and I could just send you more information, and then you can send me information about things that you're doing, if that's appropriate. I would like to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Susan's got my information. Just go ahead, give me a call, send me an email. Happy to help.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anything else from the commissioners? Well, Mr. Lester, I think you've can see that this is exciting. We appreciate and appreciate the excitement as well, and look forward to everything that's going to happen in the next 15 plus months. So thank you much.
Yep, appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right. And now we're going to keep the excitement hopping, and we have Charlie with the financial reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's I don't know if I can live up to your build up here, though.
You always do. You always do.
The report in your that was sent ancillary to your packet contains the June 30, the year ending June 30th financial numbers. And I'll just walk through this and if you have any questions, stop me or ask me at the end. But the Port Authority is on the same fiscal year as the city, June 30th, 24. At that time, we had, and I think I mentioned before, there's like 3 components to the port. There's port development, which captures revenue from all the leases from the Chain of Rocks down to River des Peres, with the exception of the city terminal lease, which we just had a great report on. That is a separate component of the port. And then the third component is the parking revenue. That is basically in the improved wharf, pretty much at the foot of the arch, running from maybe the steam plant down to Shodo. I don't know the exact boundaries, and from Leonore K. Sullivan to the river. So in those respective accounts, we had a $774,000 of cash in port development at year end, $556,000 in the improved wharf, and $195,000 in the municipal terminal account. The other cash account is those all cash accounts are maintained by the city comptroller for the benefit of the port, and they roll from year to year. The other account we have is to capture federal state grants. That's an account that was established at Boosie maybe 10 years ago. There's $890,000 in that account, and it's pretty much earmarked for capital items in the future. We had some receivables on the books, $157,000 identified as other. That's a combination of the parking lease where St. Louis Parking operates the riverfront for us, those parking spots on the levee. The biggest part of that is a receivable from the state for $118,000 related to public improvement projects. They pay after the project's complete, and that has been paid. There's a royalty revenue from Ingram of $50,000 that covered several months. That's been paid. The tenants up and down the river had $229,000 of receivable. I know most of that has been paid. It was one tenant, and it was an oversight on their part. There's an item called GASB 87, a receivable from GASB. GASB is an acronym for Government Accounting Standards, and they recommended a couple of years ago that we identify long-term leases and put a value on them at the present time. This is all done by the auditors. I have nothing to do with this number, but they valued it at $373. And that only pertains to the long-term lease we have with Ingram. And the long-term lease has optional periods of go ahead or for another 5 years, and I think they're taking the conservative approach that the lease will end at the first juncture, at the first option period. So that is that number. There's a value of leasehold improvements of $21.5 million at the city terminal. That's all city terminal value. The total assets then of the port are $24.75 million. On the liability side, we have a old security deposit, which it's according to the auditors, my task to transfer that to revenue because it relates to the old operator of the terminal, and the only reason we keep it is because these books kind of go in line with how the city is reporting our revenue and costs, and they still have it as a liability. So I just need to talk to the comptroller's office to get that off. Accounts payable, the 50,000 was due to consultants at June 30th. Those are our legislative consultants. A little amount due to LCRA. Actually, it's to SLDC, the 21,000. We had interest payable of 13. That's to Boosie Bank on the loan that they made when we did major improvements to the city terminal. That's for the period April through June, which is paid July 1st. So that's been paid. We have a notes payable to Boosie of $1.6 million. This was, if you looked at this report last year, it was almost 2.2 million. So we used excess cash to prepay that loan of 300,000 in addition to the normal amortization. We had prepaid rent, which we consider a deferred credit of 103,000 from our tenants that prepay. We had, again, a GASB number that is going to eventually drop down into revenue of 331,000. The port terminal escrow, which is money that belongs to Ingram at FAR Capital of 13,000, and other escrows of 661,000 that are construction related. Fund balances respectively: port development 793, improve WAR 595, and the terminal 20,504,000, mainly because that's the value of the property out there at a conservative cost. Under the balance sheet, we have the three components that I talked about: the port development fund, and I'll go through these real fast. The second item is wharf lease that we generated $2,079,000 compared to $1,998,000 the prior year. We had expenses of our legislative consultants of $180,000. SLDC's support of $850,000. We had support for the street department for their work on the riverfront of $300,000, and the debt service at 1520 Market of $371,000, which was part of the deal when SLDC moved its offices over here, and I think that's coming. Probably another year or two of that left, and then that debt will be paid. Then on page 2, we have Improve WARF Fund numbers where we generated $326,000, which was a surprisingly high number. We budgeted $110,000. The prior year we had $172,000, but this is probably a year where there was no hindrance due to high water, or we had long periods in the summer months where there was plenty of parking. So it's one of those years that probably is atypical, but we'll take that. Because we didn't anticipate it, we didn't incur any expense. And if we do incur expense, in addition to you, we have to go to the ENA to get ENA to approve those expenses. Under the third statement, we have the municipal terminal account. We had sublease income of $382,000. That's the fixed rate adjusted for inflation. That started out at the onset when SCF entered into that lease and Ingram took it over. It was $350. Now it's $382 because of the inflationary factor. Then we had in the under royalty income from SCF/Ingram of $187,000. That's the port share of the throughput, which I think Mr. Lester said their goal is over 1 million. Well, that's probably double of what it is right now, but that is the result of that throughput and them sharing that revenue with us. We had a gas fee adjustment, which I explained before. All these gas fee numbers, whether they're positive or negative, wash out when the lease reaches that milestone period. So it's just at this point in time, it's a view for the readers of the report. We had federal state grants of $1,560,000. Some minor income, so total revenue 2.568. The federal state revenue was used for 2 major projects in the year. There was a rail project at the city terminal, and then there was the South Refuge site where we demoed the 2 chimneys, smokestacks. Under expense, we had interest expense on the loan, depreciation expense on the leasehold improvements, some consultant expense, and the repair and improvements that we booked mainly related to the towers. We don't capitalize those costs because the South Refuge site is not property that it's owned by the city. So this cost is being done not reflective of port assets, but of the city itself. And I think that pretty much concludes what I wanted to report on, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate it. And do any of the commissioners have questions for Mr. Hahn on our finances? I believe that was very thorough, and everyone's shaking their head. So thank you very much. And we look forward to another 2025 full of good fiscal numbers as well. All right, do we have anything else on open agenda?
Just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, same to you.
Merry Christmas, and I hope to see everybody at the holiday party tomorrow evening if you're able to make it. Should have
Oh,
received the
there's a
email
holiday party.
to register.
Oh,
Let me know if you didn't receive it. I'll make sure that Donna sent it over to you. I know for some folks it did go into their spam.
probably. Yeah, if you could send me an invitation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
I don't
Thank
recall
you.
getting one either, Neil.
Okay, I'll make sure it goes over to you, Alderman Sharon.
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't think I'm available tomorrow evening, but I don't think I received one either.
Okay, I'll make sure it's given out to the entire board today.
Where is it? Where's the party again?
So it's the annual holiday party that we have.
Is it at the soccer stadium?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
All right.
No, it's
well,
at the headquarters.
The city points on my house. Yep, the city points on the house. We'll put that information into the invitation. Director Mason.
Okay.
Very good. Well, happy holidays to all. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
A second, I'll second. It's moved and seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Have a good
Merry
one.
Christmas.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.